Good morning, students. So, in the last period only, we have started to discuss about the motions of the earth, the third chapter of geography. But as the video was not audible, many of the students were not able to understand that what I have taught in the last period. And therefore, I am going to repeat all those points that I have completed or explained in the last video. So, let us begin with the motions of the earth. So, as you know, that the earth has two types of motions, namely rotation and revolution. Rotation and revolution, these are the two motions of the earth. But what is rotation or what is revolution, that we are going to understand in this paragraph. So, first of all, the first movement of the earth uh, is the rotation. What is rotation? When the earth moves around its axis, or rotation is the movement of the earth on its axis. When the earth completes one spin around its axis, it takes 24 hours. So, this movement around its axis is called as the rotation. Another movement of the earth is revolution. The movement of the earth around the sun in a fixed path or orbit is called revolution. So, revolution is what? Revolution is the movement of the earth around the sun, and that is on the fixed path. That is on the fixed path or in a particular orbit. And this movement is called as the revolution. Due to this movement, the the seasons of the earth are changing, and due to the rotation, the days are changing. I hope that you are understanding what is the difference between the rotation and revolution. Rotation is what? It is the movement of the earth on its axis around, as well as the what is revolution? Revolution is the movement of the earth around the sun in a fixed path. Fixed path is the imaginary path through which the earth take the rounds of the sun. So, due to the rotation, the days are changing, and due to the revolution, the seasons are changing or the years are changing. Now, the axis of the earth, which is an imaginary line, makes an angle of 66 degree with its orbital plane. The plane formed by the orbit is known as the orbital plane. The earth receives light from the sun. Due to the spherical shape of the earth, only half of it gets light from the sun at a time. The portion facing the sun experiences day, while the other half away from the sun experiences night. The circle that divides the day from the night on the globe is called the circle of illumination. This circle does not coincide with the axis, as you see in figure 3.2. The earth takes about 24 hours to complete one rotation around its axis. The period of rotation is known as the earth day. This is the daily motion of the earth. So here it is explained that the axis of the earth, which is an imaginary line. So as you can see here, this line from north pole to south pole, this line is called as the axis of the earth, and it is not an actual line. What is it? It is an imaginary line. So earth rotates around this imaginary line. So the axis of the earth makes an angle of 66 degrees with the orbital plane. Now you would have wondering that what is orbital plane? Orbital plane is the plane, as you can see here in the dotted line, in the dash line, as you can see, this is the orbital plane, and this orbital plane is actually with uh, this orbital plane and the axis. The orbital plane and the axis of the earth makes the angle of 66 and half degree. this orbital plane and axis makes the angle of 66 and half degree. Now, what is orbital plane actually, that we can understand from this diagram. So as you can see, this is the earth revolving around the sun. Okay, so how it revolves? It revolves on a fixed path. As you can see here, this elongated path that is shown with the help of arrow is the orbital, is we can see it is an orbit, or it is the path through which the earth revolves around the sun. So in this way, with this with this imaginary line or with the imaginary path, the orbital plane makes the orbital plane and the north pole or the axis makes the 66 and half degrees angle, as it is explained here. The plane formed by orbit is known as the orbital plane. This plane formed by the orbit is called as the orbital plane. The due to the spherical, as you can see here, the plane formed by the orbit is known as the orbital plane. The earth receives light from the sun. The earth receives light from the sun. Due to the spherical shape of the earth, only half of it gets light from the sun at a time. So as you can see here in this picture, earth is a spherical shape, and due to this reason only half of the part of the earth receives the sunlight at one time, and therefore the whole world is divided into day and night. Half of the earth, when the half of the earth there is day, at the same time just the opposite side of the earth there is night, and the portion facing the sun experiences day while the other half away from the sun experiences night. The circle that divides the day from the night, this circle or this line is called as the circle of illumination. What is circle of illumination? The circle of illumination is the circle which divides the day from the night on the globe of the earth or on the earth. In this way, the circle does not coincide with axis, as you can see in the figure 3.2. You can see axis is tilted and the circle of illumination is straight. So therefore, because of this reason, the axis and the circle of illumination are not or they are not coincide, or they are not together. They are away from each other, or they are not mixing, they are not matching with each other, they are separated. So the circle does not coincide with the axis, as you can see in the figure 3.2. The earth takes about 24 hours to complete one rotation around its axis. So one rotation of the earth completes in 24 hours. The period of rotation is known as the earth day. This is the daily motion of the earth. In this way, these basic things we have understood. Now we are going to see the further part. What would happen if the earth did not rotate? The portion of the earth facing the sun would always experience day, thus bringing continuous warmth to the region. The other half would remain in darkness and be freezing cold all the time. Life would not have been possible in such extreme conditions. So here it is said, what would happen if the earth did not rotate? Imagine if the earth stopped to rotate. What would be the consequences of that? The portion that is facing the sunlight or the sun would always experience day, thus bringing continuous warmth or continuous heat to the region that is facing the sun. At the same time, the other half would remain in darkness and be freezing cold all the time. So, on the other half that is not facing the sunlight, that will remain always in darkness and that will convert into the freezing cold conditions. Life would not have been possible in such extreme conditions where continuous day and continuous night is there, because due to the continuous day or continuous night, the part that faces the sun will become hot and hotter, as well as the part of the earth which is not facing the sunlight will continuously in the darkness, and that will convert into the freezing cold. Even all the oceans and all the water bodies of the earth will convert into the ice. So the second motion of the earth around the sun is its orbit and is called revolution. It takes 365 days or 1 year to revolve around the sun. We consider a year as consisting of 365 days only and ignore 6 hours for the sake of convenience. So the second motion of the earth around the sun is its orbit is called revolution. And the revolution means what? The movement of the earth around the sun. In how many days the earth completes one revolution? In 365 days. And therefore the 1 year on the earth is of 365 days. We consider a year as consisting of 365 days and we ignore 6 hours as because the earth earth do not move around in only in 365 days. It move around the sun in 365 days and 6 hours. So for the convenience, we do not, or we can say that we ignore the 6 hours, and then what we do, these 6 hours saved every year added to make one day. And in this way, in the month of February, after every 4 year we add one day, and therefore in the February month of the leap year, the 20, instead of 28 days there are 29 days. So this year, which is having 29 days in the February month, is called as the leap year, and in the leap year there are 366 days. I hope that you are understanding this fact. So about this diagram also we will understand in the next period. This diagram, revolution of the earth and seasons, this diagram we will understand in the next period, as well as we will see that what is elliptical orbit and some other facts related to this chapter. So thank you very much.